This is true love. You think this happens every day?
Here we are.
Here we are.
It's 25 years later. You look exactly the same.
I was just about.
I look completely different. I'm grayer, I'm fatter, I'm balder. You guys still look, you guys could still be Wesley and Buttercup. But I could still be the director because they don't see me behind the camera. Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
25 years.
It feels like yesterday. It's kind of surreal, isn't it?
I know. What I love is that we've made something that has lasted 25 years.
Yes.
And what I get the biggest kick out of, I don't know if you guys get this, where people come up to me who saw the film when they were young,
Right.
who are now parents,
Right.
who have 6-year-olds who are now seeing the film, and they say how much they love it and their kids love it. That gives me the biggest kick. I don't know, do you get that kind of thing?
All the time. People naming their kids.
Yeah.
Buttercup, please, my kid's named after your character. You got to meet him and talk to him on the phone. Yeah, okay, hello. Yeah.
I did actually get stopped in Germany years ago, and she said, I named my kid As You Wish.
As you wish.
As You Wish. Ah, das ist nicht gut.
Yeah.
You know?
As you wish.
Peter.
Peter, yeah.
Wow.
Peter says to me, when we were making the movie, Peter was in his 60s at the time, and he said, Rob, I don't know if maybe I need to, makeup to make me look like a grandfather. And I said, I didn't want to say he was old enough to be a grandfather, but we did a makeup test with him. We put all this prosthetic rubberized stuff on his face, and we looked at it, and it looked terrible. I mean, he says, Rob, I look like a burn victim. I said, yeah. I said, Peter, maybe we should go without the makeup. He says, I think you're onto something, yeah. So he agreed to do it. And then his line, As You Wish, at the end, which is your line in the movie. We end the movie with it.
Say it.
As you wish. Okay.
You made him say it. You made him say it.
It was so much fun.
It was fun. But now, you knew about the book before you were approached to
Yes,
direct.
my dad did a play on Broadway in 1968. It was called Something Different. And Bill Goldman that year decided to write a book about that season of Broadway. And he went to all the Broadway shows, and he had a chapter about each play. It was called The Season. And one of the chapters was devoted to my dad's play. He had just finished, or he was finishing Princess Bride, I think it was 1972 or something. And when he finished it, he gave it to my dad because he thought maybe it would make a good movie. My dad read it. He didn't know what to do with it. I was a huge William Goldman fan. I had read everything that he had ever written at that point, up to that point. And my dad gave me the book. And I was in my 20s, my early 20s. He says, here, you like Bill Goldman, read this book. I read the book, and I went nuts for it. I mean, it was like somebody, when you read something and the writer is in your head, this is my sensibility. And then I never thought about it. Years went by, and then I'm now making movies. I then very naively said, well, let's see if we can make a movie out of that book. Not knowing that.
Just like that, he said.
Yeah, just like that. And not knowing that they had tried. You had Francois Truffaut had been involved, and Norman Jewison, and Robert Redford, and all these people. And so,
why didn't it ever get made with those people?
Because it was such an oddball
Right, they didn't know how to market it.
type of material. Nobody knew what to do with it. And I remember going in one time, and it's so odd that we're sitting in this room, and I'll tell you why. Because this office that we're sitting in right now was once Dawn Steele's office.
No.
Dawn Steele, who was the head of Paramount, head of Columbia. And one time I went to Dawn Steele, and I said, and this was after I made a couple of pictures, and she said to me, what do you want him to do? I said, you're not going to want to do what I want to do. She says, no, really, we'll do whatever you want to do. I said, you really won't want it. She says, what is it? I said, I'd like to make a movie out of The Princess Bride. She said, well, no, anything but that. Not that movie. It was basically, people knew about it. They just didn't want to take a chance with such, such an oddball type of film.
And so then what? Norman said, okay.
And then Norman Lear, stepped up to do it,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing story.
Yeah.
Now I remember the first. Didn't we shoot this Fire Swamp first?
Well, the first day of shooting,
was,
if you remember, was the Fire Swamp, and was the day we set you on fire. Your dress.
That's right.
Your dress gets caught on fire.
Yeah, that
and-
didn't go well.
well, think about this.
Got burned. She did.
Think about this. The first day of shooting, we're lighting the leading lady on fire. We're lighting up and Bill's saying, "Is this good? Should we be doing this?" The leading lady's going to be set on fire the first day, and he would sit there like this, behind the camera.
Didn't you find him? I remember the first time we rolled. You had your headphones on. You went, "What's that noise?" I remember this.
Yeah.
And it was Bill. He was behind a giant toadstool doing some incantation, right?
And praying and clicking, and I don't know what he was doing. But I said, "Bill, it's going to be okay."
But he was doing it during the take.
Yeah, during the take.
And you said, "Bill, right? Didn't
you got to
you
not make those noises. No. But here's the thing that you guys, I don't know if I ever told you guys about this, but you two were the only two people who could play those parts. And there were three of you. There was you two and Andre the Giant, of which there was a list of one. And if I didn't get you three, I can't make the movie, because the first thing was they said, Wesley, he's got to be, I wanted an English guy who was like a good-looking, dashing Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Swartz, and I couldn't find anybody that was that, except Cary was that. Now I had Cary, and he was 23, I think, at the time.
With the wit.
Yes, with the sense of humor, the sense of humor and the slyness and all of that combination to look the way he did, that classic, look with the thing. And then it described the most beautiful girl in all the world, which was you. And you were 20, I think.
Who was willing to be burned.
Yeah. A beautiful girl that didn't mind being set on fire. And so, and you were 20, I think, at the time. And we looked for everybody. We couldn't find any. And by the way, she could do an English accent
perfectly,
even though she was you were American, because your father was English, right? Or isn't that why you?
Yeah. Stepdad,
Yeah, stepdad.
Yeah.
So you had a perfect English accent.
Oh, it was flawless.
It was perfect, and I thought, this is the only two I could ever get. Tell me about the times when we weren't shooting at nights and like hanging out with like Andre.
For a minute, we were in that little town, maybe population 50.
Yeah.
And there was one pub. So we would have Scarborough Fair, and then after dinner, I remember being down at the bar, you were there.
Right.
And it was such a big deal at the time to be so young and have an after-dinner liqueur. Like, do you want port or sherry?
Right.
And I remember him saying that he wanted, like, Cointreau or something like that.
Right.
Brings out a case of Cointreau. I'm like, just a nip. Can I just have a little sip? We're all doing a little.
way.
He literally picks up the case and puts it on the bar, and it's just go.
Yeah, okay.
You have a wine
All right,
thing.
so Andre comes to work, and I said, Andre, what'd you do last night? He says, went to the bar, had a couple of drinks. I said, well, tell me, what do you drink? He says, three bottles of cognac, about 12 bottles of wine. I said, do you get drunk? He says, no, I don't get drunk. A little tipsy, like this. And I go, oh my God, the amount of alcohol he could have consumed. Now, this is the story. The day the Nouveau Beaujolais comes out.
I remember that.
Yeah. This is the Nouveau Beaujolais. Andre starts drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And by the evening, he's now had 20 bottles of Nouveau Beaujolais. And we had to shoot a scene. If you remember, we never used it in the movie, but remember at the end, there was going to be a scene where Peter Falk leaves and the little boy's left with the book.
Right.
And he starts rifling through the book, and then all of a sudden he hears some voices outside his window. He looks outside his window, and there the four of you are on the four white horses, and you're waving.
Yeah.
Right.
So we had these four white horses.
That's right.
That we put them on a sound stage. We had black backing.
Yeah.
Right.
And the whole idea was we were going to shoot these four white horses and suspend them in the sky. Well, Andre is 500 pounds, and there's no horse that that he could sit on that would take him. So we rigged a pulley system where he was in the harness and cables, and lower him from the ceiling to take the weight off the horse. So now it's 8 o'clock at night. We're finished shooting. And it's a misty kind of rain at Shepperton Studios. They open these huge doors, and from the mist is coming down, and through the mist I see this 500-pound drunken giant being lowered from the ceiling, going, "Hello, boss." And I'm going, what do I do for a living? What is my job? What kind of job do I have?
Great.
And that was the greatest. Yeah, I'll never forget it. Never forget it. Yeah.
Wow.
So tell us, what was some of the best, people reacting to Princess Bride?
Oh my gosh, I met a girl about a couple of months ago who had "As You Wish" tattooed on the back of her neck. I'm
Really?
not kidding. And I said to her, I go, "You're okay with that being there? Because you can't see it, but obviously, somebody else can."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh no, I put it there for a reason." I'm like, "Well, okay, it's for life."
Wow.
She goes, "No, you don't understand. It's my favorite movie. I had to have it tattooed there."
Wow,
So that
that's
was pretty unique.
Yeah.
I met an army guy who came back from Iraq, a sergeant, who said that one of the things he would tell his men before they went out from the barracks each day, he would say, "Have fun storming the castle." And that was their thing to get them all into it,
A woman came up to me once in a restaurant. She must have been 26, 27 years old. And she says to me, "The Princess Bride saved my life."
Right.
And I go, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, I do extreme skiing." She says, they drop me off at a helicopter at the top of a mountain in runs, where they're not runs, they're like virgin runs. And he says, I was with a group of people, and we were up there in the mountain, and there was an avalanche, and we got trapped, and we couldn't get out. And we were there, we were alive, but we couldn't get our way down the mountain. And people were really, and she still had frostbite. She was still suffering from frostbite. She said, "I knew the Princess Bride from start to finish.
No way.
I knew the whole, she acted it out for all of them to keep them entertained.
Wow.
She did the entire movie for them and kept them all, their spirits up, and then eventually they got rescued. So that was an all-time.
Do you remember the time I called you from Washington after I met Clinton?
No, oh yeah.
So we're
Tell
at
us
the White
that.
House. We went to the White House, my wife and I, and for the Millennium celebrations, they were screening a picture I did with Ron Howard and Tom Hanks, and there was Clinton, and we're in line to meet him, and there's a bunch of people crowding around him, and we're waiting, and finally he turns around. He's a very tall guy, as you know, and my wife, who's definitely more outspoken than I'm a lot shyer when I meet people, and she goes, "Mr. President, this is my husband, Cary Elwes." And he goes, "I know exactly who you are, Cary." And I go, wow, and I'm thinking in my head, my God, what's in my FBI file? What is that? And he saw that look on my face, and he recognized, and he goes, No, it's not what you think. Chelsea and I are big fans of The Princess Bride. And we watched it all the time. May have seen it over 200 times. I know every line. You're wonderful in that picture.
Wow.
And
You do a great Clinton, by the way.
blown away. And of course, my wife goes, "Well, don't you think it would be wonderful if he got a signed copy of the script for Chelsea?" And he goes, "Lisa Marie, that's a great idea. She would really love that." And so I did it. I sent, and I called you when I got back to her. I go, "Rob, you won't believe this.
Wow.
Clinton's a huge fan."
Wow.
And you ended up working with him, right?
Yeah. I can't do them as well as you do. You do them well.
Yeah, no, I was blown away.
Yeah.
Huge fan. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
What I'm also so proud of is you guys with the sword fight. I mean, you were so good in that.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing,
we're lucky.
you had
Great guys.
You had to sword fight left-handed and right-handed. I mean, and you worked at it for months, you know.
We got so fast at it when we showed it to you on the set for the first time. Because when we trained to do it, we actually did it very, very slowly until we didn't hurt each other. By the time we got up to speed, it was so fast. You looked, you went, "It's great. It's too short." And so you sent us back to go and you said, "Go and make it the longest sword fight ever." So we went and looked at Scaramouche, which had the longest sword fighting scene, and we said, "We're going to beat that."
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
That wasn't supposed to go.
Okay, so 25 years. Now, we have to promise, we'll put our hands in the middle, like this.
We're gonna be here
And 25 years from now,
again.
we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about this again, and hopefully we'll remember some of this. We'll remember having done this.
We're going to get the hearing aid. Turn it up.
Yeah, turn it up,
Yeah.
and then I'll have, yes, there we go. But I love you guys. I had the greatest experience.
much fun.
It was the best. The
For
best.
us, too.